Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my storytelling YouTube channel. This is Hua. If you are a brand new listener, welcome. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button to help support me. And if you are a longtime listener, welcome back. Today, I am here to read Chapter 3 of my treasured one, dedicated to Paying and Thong. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Colors of white and gray behind an empty space. Can't always tell what you're thinking, but now it ain't the same. On and on we said with us forever. You take me to the moon, but you never do. Seasons of sunshine and thunder.
Paying stood there in front of the hotel and looked up at the window where she'd last saw the woman with the green eyes. She had just finished having brunch with Abby and was returning home. Chan and the sheriff were once again gone together, speaking about the body that had showed up. As of late, she'd seen less and less of her husband, which she did not mind at all. The window opened, and the red-haired woman with the green eyes appeared, and then she smiled and disappeared. "Mrs., we should return," Patsy said. Just as Paying was getting ready to leave, the door to the hotel opened, and the woman with the red hair and green eyes walked out. She wore a very sensual yellow dress that showed more than it covered. Her hair was long and curly, so soft to touch. The men were hollering at her, and she simply bowed. When she reached Paying, her smile broadened. "Mrs. Governor," she said, "you have been keeping your eyes on me, haven't you?" Paying forced a smile. "And why would I do that?" Shrugging, she asked, "I should be the one asking you that question. I see you've been visiting Abby for some fine dresses. You must have heard all about me then." Paying shook her head. "I have not." "Lies," she sneered. "Lies from a proper lady. Imagine that. I thought only women like me who keep men entertained between the sheets knew how to lie. But a woman from a fine class background such as you can speak lies just as well. No wonder men die between our legs." Patsy stepped forward. "Don't talk to our missus that way." And then she turned to take Paying's arm. "Let us be on our way." Paying followed her maid's lead, and as she walked ahead, she heard the woman shout out, "My name is Willow, Mrs. Governor. You come talk to me any time now, you hear?" "What a disturbing young woman," Patsy was saying as the two of them entered the manor. Paying's mind was still lingering around the woman's demeanor. It was like she knew something Paying did not. It frightened her, and now a body had showed up just after their arrival. "Where is the governor? Why hasn't he returned?" she asked. Patsy sat down and played cookies. "He's still with the sheriff. They've been bonding like brothers these past few days. I won't be surprised if he's late again for dinner." "Something doesn't feel right," Paying said. "I'm going to go find him. You stay here." The sheriff's office was closed, and no one was in sight. Any deputies that were there had gone off for the night. It was getting late, and the sky was darkening. Paying let out a heavy breath of disappointment, and she wanted to rip her hair out. Something was not right. Her husband was hiding something. She knew it, because it had to be something not right for him to keep himself away from home for so long. And why hadn't anything been brought to surface about the body? Walking back home, the wind picked up, and she regretted leaving without a coat. She walked past the saloon, and the double doors opened and a burly man came out, almost knocking her over. He smelled the whiskey and gave her a chilling smile before he staggered down the road. When the doors were swinging, she happened to look in, and there was Chan, sitting on a stool with the sheriff, a working girl with blonde hair on his lap. They were chattering away, laughing, and he had his hands on the inner side of her thigh. Shutting her eyes in disgust, she turned to go when she ran into a hard chest. Looking up, she saw it was Thong. So, he was here to join in on the fun too. She made a sound and turned to go when he followed her. "Paying," he started. She swung around. "I thought I told you not to address me so informally." Smiling, he replied, "Mrs. Governor." "Where's your chaperone?" "My chaperone? My chaperone is in there with a blonde on his lap, ready to eat her up. That's where he is. And don't let me stop you from joining him too." Laughing, Thong replied, "I don't go to those places. I came here to drop off supplies and saw you peeking in." "I wasn't peeking. I was assessing the situation." He came toward her. "Right." And then suddenly he took his coat off and tried to put it around her. She stepped out of his reach and she put her hands up. "Just what do you think you're doing?" she asked. "You've got goosebumps all over you. You can still argue with me afterwards, but at least then you'll be warm." "No, thank you." He eyed her, and then he slipped the coat back on. "If he catches you wearing it, I'm sure you'll get the brunt of it when you're home, I suppose." "You don't know everything." He stepped toward her. "I know you don't deserve to be treated and beaten like an animal by the man who is supposed to protect you." Payeng looked away. "You're just imagining things. Like the bruises on your arms. Like how you can't wear any short sleeves because it will show. Like how you look at your feet when you walk because you're not allowed to look at anyone in the eye. Like how you have no life in your eyes because he killed it. Let me know what I'm getting there, Mrs. Governor." She shook her head, unbelieving him. "And what does it matter to you?" "It shouldn't matter, but it does. Perhaps because I don't like to sit back and watch a woman like you be punished for something she's not even at fault for." As they were conversing, fireworks started shooting in the sky. She jumped, and he came forward holding her arm. She jerked herself free, and just right then, Willow walked toward them wearing a bright red dress, showing cleavage, and had her hair piled up in a high bun. "Well, well, well, what a sight is this?" Willow asked. "Thong, if you are in need of a woman, my bed is free tonight. Don't bother Mrs. Governor. She's too expensive for you." Thong laughed. "Don't talk about expensive, Willow. That dress was paid for by someone who left you an expensive amount of bills. At least Mrs. Governor has her dignity in place." Willow's eyes darkened, and then she moved toward them. "You speak as if you like her." And then she turned to Payeng. "What witchcraft are you casting onto him?" "I'm leaving." As she turned to go, she heard her name being called, and she turned around to find the sheriff and her husband walking toward them. "Oh no," she thought, her heart hammering against her chest. She couldn't move as Chan came toward them, and then suddenly Willow walked right into her husband's arms and gave him a kiss on the lips. He lightly shoved her away but held her in place. "Mr. Governor, you woke up and left my bed before morning came today," she purred. Payeng felt sick to her stomach as she looked at the scene unfolding before her. She immediately turned and began running toward home. She didn't care that her husband was shouting her name. So that's where he had been these past few days, inside the brothel and with Willow? She was so embarrassed that everyone had witnessed it. Tears rolling down her cheeks, she angrily walked on toward her home. It wasn't even jealousy that she was weeping about. It was regret that she'd have to endure for the rest of her life. "Governor, my bed is open if you'd like to come on up," Willow said as she winked at him. Thong felt the anger rise in him as the governor smiled and took her hand. Then he turned to both him and the sheriff and casually walked with Willow toward the hotel. He clenched his hands and fists as he shook his head in disbelief. Can you believe that, Tom? A governor such as him, who has such a beautiful wife, can still walk away with a woman like Willow if tempted, Bailey said. Sheriff, some men do not deserve the titles they so proudly parade in public. The sheriff shook his head. I am appalled. The missus must be feeling terrible right now. As the sheriff turned to go back, Tom looked ahead where she was still walking. He watched as Willow turned back to gaze at him as she opened the door for the governor to enter the hotel. A smirk appeared on her face as she followed him and the door closed in on them. He let out a deep breath and steered in the direction of the governor's house. Aren't you going to try to get your husband back? She turned at the sound of his voice as he approached her. Tom noticed her hands were shaking, and she couldn't even open the door with a key. He came forward and took it from her, inserted it into the door, and pushed it open. Here you go, he whispered. She stood there as he handed the key back to her. He noticed a small dusting of freckles across her nose and cheeks. She was truly beautiful in this light. Well, aren't you? She made a sound of disgust. He can stay there. He had a choice, and he chose her. And then she looked up at him. You know Willow, don't you? Tom felt his heart hammer against his chest, and he forced the feeling of the past to disappear. You've been asking about me. Laughing, she replied, Nonsense. Your story was handed to me to listen to. He came forward, and she backed up until she entered the manor. He kept inching forward until he was entirely inside the house, and then he shut the door and turned to find her eyes full of questions. Just what do you think you're doing? She asked. Would you rather we stand out there where everyone could see us? He questioned. When she didn't answer, he straightened and let out a breath. Why have you been seeking me out? Paying laughed and walked to start the fire. As soon as the flame started, she turned around and stared at him. Who said I was seeking you out? If you didn't, how would you know about Willow and I? Tom watched as the light in her eyes faded, and then she walked forward, her body gesturing and opening to hear him. Does it bother you, knowing she's up there with all those men? Shaking his head, he replied, No. She made her choice, and I've made mine. It doesn't matter what she does anymore. She's no longer a part of me. The men can keep her company until dawn arrives, but she'll be empty for the rest of her life. That's enough to help me sleep at night. She opened her mouth in shock. That's harsh of you to say. What if she didn't have a choice? How can you just assume that she's doing it for her own pleasure? Isn't she? He asked, raising an eyebrow. And what do you know about choices? You're here. By command, and not by choice, she whispered. Her eyes filled up with tears, and she pushed her sleeves back, revealing the ugly bruises. You think I really want this? I had no choice. He stepped forward and touched her arm. Does it hurt? Shaking her head, she replied, No, not anymore. I just go into a zombie state when he does it. When it's over, I can heal by myself. And then she pulled her arm away. Why am I telling you this? Tong took her hand gently and pulled her toward him. Because it hurts, and it needs to be said. You deserve so much more than this life, Paying. Why are you allowing him to rule over you like this? What is keeping you from leaving him? Tears filled her eyes and she sobbed quietly. I can't leave him. If I leave him, I die. You don't understand the power he has over me in my life. You're just a farmer. But I'm also a man, he whispered as his thumbs wiped her tears away. And I can protect you. From what? From what he would do? She shook her head. I would never ask anyone to do that for me. If I can keep those around me safe, I'll do just that. At the price of your own life. She nodded. Yes. As long as he is happy, he won't cause trouble. Chuckling, Tom replied, Trouble arrived the moment he stepped into town. No body has ever surfaced before. Not here in Harper Stone. The sheriff is beyond his own wits on what to do, and your husband is guiding him in circles. Probably to cover his own tracks. Paying narrowed her eyes. Do you mean he had something to do with it? Thong cocked his head. Tell me the truth of what you think. She swallowed hard and then she replied, I believe he's hiding some dark secrets, but I do not know if I want to dig it up. I'm afraid I may not live long if I don't pretend to be blind. Then leave him, he whispered as he took her into his arms. Leave him and come with me. I'll protect you. The girl who was found, she's not just anyone. She's the mayor of Arkansas's daughter. She ran away here to stop an arranged marriage, and she was in hiding. Your husband's arrival has sparked the interest of many high-status people. Trust me, Payeng, this isn't just your husband wanting to govern a city like Harper Stone. There have been some dark promises made, and you're the payment. When you're ready, you come find me and I'll protect you. Payeng lay in bed listening to the sound of the rain pouring down the window pane. It started to rain right after Thong left, and it showed no sign of stopping. Chan was having too good a time to return home, and she would stop expecting anything now, knowing that it was the brothel he was going to. What Thong said tonight stirred something so deep inside her, and it made her think about the very beginning of their relationship. She knew he wanted her for marriage, but her stepfather had gained a very rich hand out of it. The rise to governor had been a part of her stepfather's doing, and coming here had been his idea as well. Now, if the mayor of Arkansas's daughter was working in a brothel to hide from a marriage arrangement, it meant that she had been in the same situation Payeng had been in. Was she supposed to marry the governor and not Payeng? Was that why she was now dead and Payeng was alive? The thought made her shiver, and she clutched the blanket around her tighter. The sound of a cat meowing had her sitting up, her breath shaking against her lips as she listened. Someone was around the house. She pulled on a robe and walked to the window looking out to the backyard. It was dark, and when the thunder flashed, she saw the reflection in the window, and someone was behind her. She screamed and turned around as a man reached for her, pulling her against him, and tried to cover her mouth with a cloth full of something strong, an odor that she didn't like. She fought against him, but not before she'd swallowed the air of the odor. She grabbed the pair of scissors on the table and swung, slashing the attacker across the arm. He grunted as she ran, feeling the effect of the chloroform entering her lungs. Her vision was fading, and she misjudged the distance to the steps and fell down the flight of stairs. Her body was aching with pain as she tasted the tanging flavor of blood in her mouth. She saw an upside-down view of the attacker standing at the top of the stairs, and she began crawling to the front door. Her movements were slower now, and she couldn't feel her legs anymore. Patsy, she managed to say. Her vocal cords were shutting down, and her eyes fell on the vase on the table. Water. She needed water to wake her up. She pushed all the strength she had left and reached for the table legs. The vase tipped, and when the water ran, she positioned herself beneath it, and it rained on her face. The coldness of it hit her as she felt her body shiver to a rude awakening. Screaming, she forced herself to get up and race to the door, pulling it open. She saw Patsy's gruesome murdered body lying on the front porch and screamed as thunder roared above her. Payeng turned to find the attacker coming toward her, and she ran to the stable, grabbing the horse, and rode on it. As she made it past the hotel where her husband was sleeping, she looked up and she swore she saw a hand movement in the window, and then she felt the arrow that was fired through her shoulder. She gasped as she fell forward and held onto the rings, in excruciating pain spreading throughout her entire body. Ride, she told herself, ride to his ranch. She dug her heels into the horse's side, and he galloped faster. The rain came harder as she rode past the city of Harper Stone and saw the gravel road ahead. Thunder was flashing above her, and she felt her body giving out. Hold on, Payeng. Hold on. It's only a mile down the road. And when Thong's ranch came into view, she almost laughed as she pushed the horse farther. When she reached the ranch home, she let go of the rings and the horse raised itself on its hind legs, causing her to fall off. She hit the ground with a loud thud and the arrow broke off from behind her, piercing deeper. She let out a painful gasp as her body began to slow down. Her heart was now slowing its pace, and she whispered Thong's name. Is this how she would meet death? Ying felt her tears burn her cheeks as the rain continued pouring on her. And then, the door to the ranch opened, and her vision blurred as a pair of large, familiar hands reached for her. Thank you for tuning in. Chapter 4 will be out shortly.
Colors of white and gray behind